Trauma? Genetics? Good old dopamine? What exactly causes ADHD? Hi, I'm Dr. Ari Tuckman, a licensed psychologist, and I'm here answering some of the internet's biggest questions on what causes ADHD. Is ADHD hereditary? Yes, it is, absolutely. Most people who have ADHD, most of it is genetically determined, meaning if you find one person in the family with ADHD, you probably don't have to look that hard through the family tree to find some other people who also have ADHD. Does too much or too little dopamine cause ADHD? So it's not so much about too much or too little, but rather it's about how our brains use the dopamine. And dopamine is a chemical that is used by our brain cells to communicate with each other, which affects how we think and how we feel and what we do. Now, the thing about dopamine is mostly when it comes to ADHD, you can think of it as brake fluid, right? It helps us sort of stop, pause, and not get distracted and not act impulsively. So this is why the stimulants, which are the most effective medication for ADHD, are so effective, is because they impact how your brain is using the dopamine and they make it easier to sort of stop and pause, be a little bit more thoughtful about what you do next. So again, it's not about too much, it's not about too little, it's about just right and how your brain uses it. Is ADHD caused by trauma? It is not caused by trauma, but where it gets a little bit complicated is they can look similar in some ways. So the distractibility of ADHD can look like sort of the intrusive thoughts of trauma. The emotional reactivity or maybe the restlessness can look similar. Now, the thing is, it's important to really take the time and to see a professional who can get the diagnosis right, because the treatments are going to be very different. And what helps for one is probably not going to be helpful for the other. So if you have had traumatic experiences and also you think you have ADHD, take it seriously and really figure out what's going on so that you can live the best life that you can. Did my child get ADHD from too much sugar? No. Is there an environmental cause for ADHD? You know, there can be. Mostly it's genetic, but certainly anything that impacts brain development can have an effect on how likely someone is to develop ADHD. So for example, exposure to certain substances or chemicals in utero, or maybe in the early months or years of life, can certainly have an impact on a developing brain and can make conditions like ADHD more likely. By the way, what were you convinced was a cause of ADHD? Let us know in the comments. Can head trauma cause ADHD? So technically, no. If the symptoms are caused by head trauma, then it's not technically ADHD, but it can certainly look a whole lot like ADHD, particularly if the parts of the brain that were affected by the trauma are the same ones that are involved in ADHD. Now, the thing is, a lot of the behavioral strategies that you might use to help manage ADHD could actually be pretty helpful for also managing the symptoms that come from a head trauma. Now, where it gets a little bit more complicated is the medications that are often helpful for ADHD might behave a whole lot differently if the cause is a head trauma. So it's kind of another example of why it's really important to get an accurate diagnosis, to really completely and accurately understand what is going on, what is causing the symptoms that you're having, because accurate diagnosis guides the most effective treatment. Do food dyes cause ADHD? This is one of those old ideas that just refuses to go away. No matter how much research has been done over the last 50 years, this idea still sticks around. And food dyes, sugar, processed foods, do not cause ADHD. Now, what is true is that kids who are impulsive, who really love instant gratification, are more likely to seek out the kinds of foods that have artificial colors and all sorts of processed chemicals and the stuff that ideally we don't get a whole lot of. So what this means then is, as parents, it's that much more important to make sure that your kids eat kind of a balanced breakfast and that they eat through the day, and good lunch and good dinner and snacks and everything, so that they're not hangry and they're not sort of running on fumes and crashing at the end of the day. Can playing too many video games cause ADHD? This is another one. No, it can't. But kids with ADHD who, again, love instant gratification, really love exciting, highly stimulating activities, are more likely to seek out video games. And let's be honest, these video games are way more exciting than all of their homework and cleaning their room is. So it's just another place where, as parents, we just need to make sure that our kids have a balance in the activities that they're involved in. And if they're too likely to leap too quickly to video games rather than doing other activities, to make a point of keeping those video games a little bit further away, to limiting the time that they're spending on it, so that they're still doing all the other things that are important in having a good day and a good week. Can bad parenting give your child ADHD? No, it can't. Let's be honest. Parenting any kid is going to have its moments, right? We all have our times where we're not bringing our best to the situation. But if you have a kid who's more likely off task, who's forgetful, who's distracted, who impulsively kind of leaps without looking, who has strong emotional reactions in the moment, it's that much harder to be wise and keep your cool when your child kind of needs it the most. So if you're struggling with your child's behavior, it's really easy to judge yourself. It's really easy to feel like you're being judged by other people for the parenting that you're doing. If this is the case, it's that much more important to really immerse yourself in understanding ADHD and understanding who your child is and what they need, so you can be the most effective parent that you can be. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you found this helpful, we actually have a lot more content like this on our channel, so make sure to subscribe. By doing so, you can help our mission at Understood, which is to make sure that the 70 million people with learning and thinking differences, like ADHD and dyslexia, can thrive.